This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Mr. George Foreman. George, excuse me, I don't know where in the world or in America you are right now, but how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm in a small little country town, actually my hometown of Marshall, Texas. Has about 25,000 people and everybody's quiet.
Is there anyone more famous in your town than you, George? I very much doubt it, but is there?
There has been some celebrity athletes from the area, politicians. Even Lady Bird Johnson was brought up in this area, who was married to Lyndon Johnson. So it goes back with some name calling. But famous, I am not. I'm not one of those guys.
You're not one of them guys. In the eyes of everyone else, you are, George, but I love your humbleness.
Well, you start from the bottom and there's always a place to go. But if you start on top, there's nothing but down.
I just want to thank Bob Yalin for helping set this up, and also your daughter. Bob told me to say to you hello, so I'm doing that from Mr. Yalin. How have you been keeping? What do you do day to day at the moment, George, to kind of keep yourself occupied during this pandemic we're going through in the world?
Yeah, it's in the whole world. And I think the greatest gift I was given, I gave it to myself, was a stationary bicycle. And I get on that thing in the morning and work out as if I got something to do other than keep myself healthy. And in the afternoon, I get on the horses and I do a lot of horse riding. I love the horses.
It's good to see you keeping yourself active, George. Let's talk a little bit about boxing. Obviously, I know what I'm about to talk to you about. You've probably had all the way during your life, but I'm going to obviously take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about some moments in your career.
About that. Yeah, I can hear you, and now I can see you again.
Okay, let me repeat that then. Yeah, I do want to talk to you about 1994, the fight with Michael Moorer, where you become the oldest living heavyweight world champion, and you still are. How much of that fight in 94 do you still recall, George?
Oh, that was a great fight for me. I had to fight, and I knew I had the confidence to win such fights, but the fight would linger on into 10 rounds. And I was never interested in winning a decision on points. I was looking for that knockout. And once it happened, I remember thinking, how did that happen? I was so happy, one of the happiest days of my life in sports. But the greatest was when I won an Olympic gold medal back in the 60s. But I've had those highlighted. That was a highlight in my career, winning the championship of the world. But I wasn't a boy and going on any kind of spree. I was a family man, actually with grandkids.
George, I mean, going back to 94, what do you remember about people's perception about you at that age, 45 years old, going into that fight? What do you remember about the people kind of talking about that fight, the media? Because it seems like because of your age, the chips were very much stacked against you.
And that's a fact for all boxers. I was a maybe 23-year-old boy in Kingston, Jamaica. And I'm training with everything. I've had about 30, I don't know, maybe 37 boxes. Most of them were a knockout. I was a big, strong boy. And they saw Joe Frazier and they said, please, Joe, I hope Joe doesn't hurt George. He's a nice kid, but he shouldn't be in the ring with smoking Joe Frazier. So I was accustomed to having people say, it doesn't matter if you're 13 or 69, people are going to say what you can't do. And if that's like bursting through the sound barrier, self-confidence, once you do, nothing can touch you. And so I was in that position. Everybody thought I was coming back just for money. And you know what? They were telling the truth.
George, very few people of a certain age achieve those heights that you did against Moorer. We know Bernard Hopkins obviously did it as well, but there's very few athletes in boxing that can achieve that once they get to a certain age. And that's not just my opinion, that's through fact, isn't it?
Yeah, you get a lot of fights. And if you have a lot of hard fights, it's best to do what you can do and get out of the sport as soon as you can. But I had run into some hard times and I had to re-enter boxing. I started from the bottom like any other young man would, starting slow, building myself back up. And after 3.5 years, then 4 years, I was back in the business. And I knew how to box. And when you know how to do something, that's the most horrible thing in the world, is to have someone tell you you can't. And I just couldn't live with that.
You spent a long period out of the ring, George, where you were obviously concentrating on other matters in your life. But that's a long time to be out of the ring, isn't it? 10 years.
10 years, can you believe that? A decade of being a full-time evangelist with the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, of which I still am. I'm a preacher, that's what I am. My profession is that of a preacher. I'm moonlighted as a boxer and a grill salesperson, but I'm I'm a preacher. That's what I am.
Yeah, I mean, it was astonishing. I suppose in that 10-year period, a lot of people wouldn't have expected you to return to the ring. And I don't know whether you believed during that 10-year period that at some point you genuinely would come back into the ring.
I never did. I had my shirt buttoned up to the top. You would see me going down the street. I never dedicated myself. No one will ever see me with my shirt off again. That boxing, I had so many horrible things to say about the sport. But then that devastation of waking up one morning broke. I didn't have any money. And I wish then I had been a golfer. I wish I'd been able to play basketball, but all I could do was box. That was my profession. And I had trained kids at a youth center to take the chip off your shoulder. This is not a game of I'm going to kill you. Never a punch in anger. I was teaching that, and in the same time, I learned to do it myself. So after 10 years, I was broke. I was able to come back to work, but never a punch in anger again.
Just flashing back to 1974, I wasn't even born in 74, by the way. I was born in 81, actually the year that Muhammad Ali had his last fight. But George, when you think about 1974, and I don't know how often you think about 1974 Rumble in the Jungle, but how much of it do you remember like it was yesterday?
Oh boy. And all of it, pretty much everything I've had, like, I don't know, maybe 85, 86 boxing matches. And I can remember and tell you everything about each one of them. Who hit me hard, what I saw, what woke me up, how sad, how depressed. Everything still lives with me. So the Rumble in the Jungle, probably a highlight, because every year someone does a report on it. So I have to recapture everything and tell them everything about it. It's probably the most talked about fight that I do anywhere. Interviews, the Rumble in the Jungle. I call it the mugging in the jungle, because I went there with 2 title belts, came back with none. I was robbed. I was robbed.
I mean, the time period between 1974 and obviously 1994, more or less 20 years exactly, those kind of iconic moments. And you can't really, you can't write that. That just happened naturally, didn't it?
Yeah, if I told you this was all going to happen, I wouldn't be telling the truth. I knew it was going to happen. I just came back one day, got back into the gym. I was rusty. I have to change my stands and start crossing my arms, all those things, because the guys were quicker, more fast than I was. I had to learn the sport all over again. I never thought it would happen. I really didn't. I just came back to earn a living for my family, and the integrity part of it. I said, I'm coming back. I'm going to be heavyweight champion of the world again. And when you say something like that, you hold yourself to it. And that's why I continued until I got the title.
One of your biggest, obviously your biggest success outside of sport was the introduction of your George Foreman grill. And I actually bought one of those. It lasted me for 6 years. And I think an ex-girlfriend of mine ended up throwing it out because I'd kept it for so long. But I know you obviously you sold the rights to that years ago now, but that was an astonishing kind of, not an astonishing invention, but for someone like yourself to bring that out, it's not something that happens with today's athletes, that they have a product out there that was that well received as your grill was.
And that was the problem with the grill. They last so long, people didn't have to get other ones. It was like, lose it, get another. It was a great product, and it was a success because it worked. And it did, and they still work. I still have them now. The family still use the grill. It's a safe, easy, clean way to cook. And I parted company with the company. You know, it was my grill. I wasn't doing a commercial. It was actually a joint venture. It was my product. And people kept wanting to buy it. I said, okay. And that's what I was in the business. Even now I'm in the business of selling things. I love to sell. I'm a salesperson.
Jules, let me ask you a question. If you want a grill now, so if your one broke, have you got to go and physically buy one yourself now?
Barely. I love the grill though. And my wife, she still shops for the grill. She does. And when she want to do a good deed for someone, she'll go out and buy the grill just like everyone else. She said, this thing is going up in price. I said, well, I can't ask the company after I sold it to give me more. They don't do that.
They should do, actually. George, let me ask you, your era in the heavyweight division is regarded, and it's still regarded as the best ever. I mean, obviously yourself, Ali, Fraser, listed, I mean, Ken Norton, the list goes on. But how do you compare that era to the heavyweight era we're in now?
Oh, there are a lot of good fighters today, really good. I surely like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder, the cream of the crop. I love those guys. They're big and tall. There were a lot of big and tall guys back in the day too. People, they just couldn't win. But now tall guys are actually winning boxing matches, which is odd, and we're watching it. But one day, when you start saying the greatest heavyweight of all time, he'll be about 6'1", 220, 215 pounds. That's the perfect weight of a champion.
Who do you regard? You mentioned there Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury. Who do you regard as the #1 heavyweight currently today?
It's like on any given night, I thought Deontay Wilder really, I thought he won the first fight with Tyson Fury, but he certainly didn't win the second one. Tyson Fury got him. And Anthony Joshua was, oh boy, he looked so good. Then the little fella came out and beat him. So it's a toss-up. They're all good. And on any given night, one can beat the other. And that's the best way to feel about it. I beat Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Muhammad Ali. Joe Frazier beat Muhammad Ali. Ken Norton beat him. And Muhammad Ali just whipped me good.
You mentioned Tyson Fury there. Obviously, Tyson Fury with an exceptional performance in Las Vegas back in February to defeat Deontay Wilder and become WBC champion. Were you surprised about the way Tyson Fury beat Wilder and his approach to the fight? Were you surprised about from his tactics?
I was shocked. I knew he could. I really knew that Tyson Fury could win a fight, and I had told everybody he would win, but I definitely thought he would do it on points. I had no idea he would get a knockout. He shocked the whole boxing world. He did. And to tell you, well, I knew it, I'd be lying. I was watching like, can't be. It's over.
and Deontay Wilder obviously came up with some reasons why he believed he lost the fight, which he's entitled to his opinion about why he believes things weren't right on the night. But do you believe that Wilder can come back, George, and become a force again?
Oh, certainly. When I lost to Muhammad Ali in Africa all those years back, the ropes were loose. Someone put something in my water. It was too early in the morning. Oh, the excuses went on. You got to have excuses when you lose. especially when you're undefeated. You just can't say, I lost. You can't say that. And that's gravity. I mean, that's putting yourself solidly down to make an excellent comeback. He can come back and he can win again easily. All fighters can.
When Anthony Joshua, the fight you're referring to, lost to Andy Ruiz, which was back in last June in New York, obviously that would have shocked the world. That was being compared to when Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, etc. But he came back and he showed his class by defeating Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. How do you sum up those two fights, George?
And that you summed it up yourself on what a guy can do after being devastated. He's just going to have to look at films and study the sport, and he can come back and win. And it was the same way Muhammad did with Spinks back in the day. Joe Louis, he was terribly beat by Max Smelling. They all come back if they want to study and stay in training camp. And Ruiz shocked the world, and he's another fourth member of those guys. He's in that, not a triangle anymore. I mean, he's 1/4 of the whole thing.
How much of Dylan White have you seen from the UK, George? Have you seen much of Dylan White?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, because he's the one on the fringes as well. That's obviously he's mandatory to the winner of Fury and Wilder, the third fight for next year. So he's making some noise here in the UK as well.
It's strange how the UK is just blossoming, one great heavyweight after the other. It's unreal. I don't even understand it. It's like something from Mars fell over in Europe, and it's just producing one great heavyweight after another. We're going to have to move the earth and turn this thing a little bit, and so it start falling back on us. It's strange. They're not just flukes. They're actually great fighters. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I mean, it's like something out of space. They're not supposed to be from from the United Kingdom. They're not supposed to be from there. No way.
Well, last December 2019, there were no belts in the UK at heavyweight, and obviously within 3 months, all the heavyweight titles, the IBF, WBC, WBA, WBO, are all in the UK now. So we're enjoying that moment right now.
I mean, you ought to be, and I'm proud. And even one guy who boasted from Europe is Lennox Lewis. Absolutely. He never got the credit that he was supposed to. And if you name the top 10 fighters of all time, you get Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, and you can put Lewis anywhere else in there. He was fit. He's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
The fight that we really want to see here in the UK is a fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Is there someone in that fight that you favour, George, over the other?
That boy, Tyson Fury, you're going to have to bring everything you got to beat him. And I just don't, and I'm going to be honest with you, I can't see Joshua beating him. But I sure would buy some tickets to see what'll happen. I'm that curious about it. But that Tyson Fury, man, whoo, Fury. I mean, how did he get the name?
It's a fight that we hope at some stage over the next year. We don't know. We don't even know when boxing's returning at the moment. So to try and put a timestamp on this is nigh on impossible. George, let me ask you as well. Bob Arum made some comments that he said that Tyson Fury would have given Muhammad Ali a run for his money. What do you think about those comments? Kind of comparing those fighters and eras.
It's good when you have a fighter, you know, like George Foreman was the best puncher. Muhammad Ali, WAS. I mean, is can beat was any day. And you just can't take it away from him. If someone decides, hey, Tyson Fury can whip George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, hey, what can we do? It's not like we can say, okay, give me another chance. No. He is the man of the hour. And why not say those things?
Absolutely. Why not? Did you see the clip of Mike Tyson recently
I
hitting the
did.
pads? What did you make of that?
Oh, I was so happy. It looked like he had turned the clock back at least 20 years. He was looking fit, and those punches were coming sharp. And if he's able to go in the woods and dedicate himself to that for about 10 months, he could come back and really be a top contender.
Do you believe that? Because he's talking about coming back to have an exhibition fight, but you believe
That's
that?
what they do. That's the way it happened. I called Dick Sattler, my original trainer back in the 60s. I just won a gold medal. I said, I just want to do exhibitions. And that's all, and learn more about boxing. Next thing you know, I'm in with the heavyweight champion of the world. So it starts off talking about exhibitions, but it gets bigger and bigger. And that Tyson, I would like to see him back in the ring. He's an older fella, but hey, a record is always waiting to be broke.
Do you do any boxing training? Not to come back, obviously, but do you keep yourself fit with any boxing training at the moment?
Yeah, I work out and everything, and I make sure I don't get big anymore. Even my shirts getting too big for me and all of that. But anyway, I stay in shape. But I'm more fearful that my grandkids may come in with a chip on their shoulder and beat me up than my getting into the ring. I mean, they tell me, be quiet. Okay.
I really appreciate your time today, George, and obviously thanks to your daughter for helping set this interview up. But have you got a message for, obviously we're in the UK here, so you've obviously got a lot of fans here in the UK. Have you got any sort of closing words and a message for people watching?
And you know, London, England is my most favorite place in the world. I had portobello mushrooms in the morning with eggs. I love London. And everybody should realize that we're in a good place now. We have each other and support each other by making certain we keep the rules and live on. I would like to be having this conversation the next 45 years from today with all of you there. And forget, George Foreman has a knockout pain relieving cream now. You put it on you, you don't have to drink it, you can do it all you want, and all of a sudden you feel better. It's a good pain relief cream.
Okay. Maybe you send me
Real
a
real
little
time
bit of
pain
that,
relief.
George.
Yeah,
Send me a little bit of that. I'll try it on. Yeah.
right.
George Foreman, thank you very much for your time again, and keep yourself safe and hope your family's well and safe. And we all pray that we come out of this.
Yeah, let's keep hope. Hope is there still there. We can do it. Thank you now. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, George.